Welcome to the Orange Globe, an OG NBA podcast. Thanks for tuning in today as we are happy to present our very first installment of Who You Got. I'm Dayton, joined by my very good friend and equally passionate NBA fan and analyst, Quentin. How are you doing on the eve of the NBA season, my man?
I'm doing all right. Looking forward to seeing. I'm going to be watching from the east side. You've got the west side, and it's going to be a good season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And before we jump into anything, obviously want to introduce the series, which I talked about on the last podcast episode. Who You Got is what we're going to be. It's a weekly installment here at the Orange Globe, and Quentin and I are going to be going over a majority of the week's games. This week we'll be going over Tuesday through Saturday, and then throughout the season we'll be talking about pretty much a majority of the games, our favorite games each week, and picking who we think is going to win the game based off rosters, statistics, how they've been doing so far in the season. Obviously, for this first week, we don't really have anything to go off of besides how the teams looked last year and a little bit of the preseason, but we'll fill you guys in on any of the other transactions they had. And also, before we jump into it, just want to get our little bit of biases out of the way and out in the open now before we talk about teams. Quentin's favorite team, of course, he is living there right now, Cleveland Cavaliers. My favorite team, living here on the West Coast in Portland, Oregon. So, of course, I am a Trailblazers fan. But we are NBA junkies and fanatics, so we're going to be, unbiased for the most part, but obviously we're going to be favoring talking about our teams. But Cavaliers, actually, I want to ask you that, Quentin. I would love to get your perspective coming from a Cavs fan. What was your reaction when LeBron made the move to LA this summer?
Oh, man.
Okay, so
it's funny because the first time LeBron left, people were furious. But, when LeBron left this time, it was kind of dramatic. It was like watching him leave and all of us just we'll never forget you. We're very supportive of LeBron. And, in fact, you'll find almost more LeBron fans than Cavs fans out here sometimes. Yeah. In the sense that, we all love the Cavs and we want to see the Cavs succeed, but we also have love for LeBron no matter what he does. So, needless to say, a lot of people in the CLE got two teams this year.
Yeah,
that's
which is...
how I'd put it.
That, and, that's... Luckily for me, throughout the years, I'm still a huge LeBron fan. He went to my least favorite team, my rival, so it's going to be tough to root for the Lakers. I'm still going to be rooting for LeBron. But luckily now I can really just focus my attention on the Blazers because, was, and still a huge LeBron fan. But now that he's on the Lakers, that meter has kind of gone down a little bit, obviously, so I'm not going to be paying attention too much to another team as much as I have been over the few years. When he was with Miami, I was rooting for Miami just as much as I was rooting for the Blazers, who were in an, bad place at that time, right before we got Lillard. So, but yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting season. Ecstatic to jump into just the first week of action because there are a lot of games going on, especially on Wednesday. So let's just jump into this. Quentin, the first game is tomorrow evening, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Boston Celtics are hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Two of the best teams of the Eastern Conference are going to be going at it to tip off the season. NBA really did a good job on this one. Injury report is a little vague as that'll be the theme for injury reports going forward. Because there's a lot of day-to-day listings for teams around this time, which is just a cautionary thing. Quentin will get more into that as we go along. But Ben Simmons, Mike Muscala, and Wilson Chandler, all for the 76ers, listed as day-to-day. Sounds like all three of them will play. Celtics don't have any injured players. That means Kyrie Irving is coming back. Gordon Hayward is coming back. I think it's going to be almost exactly a year to the day. Hayward made his debut for the Celtics and, of course, suffered that injury and had to be taken out. But Kyrie, Gordon will be back. They'll be pairing up with Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, and obviously Brad Stevens, head coach over there. For the Sixers, you have Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz. Looks like he's going to be starting. Dario Saric, you have Robert Covington. Both of these teams young, have been building. Not a whole lot has changed for them this offseason. Boston is favored by 4.5 points. The over-under is 208.5. Quentin, who you got, man? Two very exciting teams, two very young teams who have been rebuilding. What do you see happening opening night?
Well, I would think it would be very strange for a team like Boston that has that strong core. Boston is a team that, if they can keep their roster together, they'll easily be favorites to win the East, only having to worry about teams like Toronto. and Philadelphia. But I've got this gut feeling, something about Philly, something about the work of Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Markelle Fultz. I'm going to see more improvement from Markelle Fultz, and I believe I'll see more improvement throughout the year. I'm going to be bold, and I'm taking Philly in this one. What about you?
I like that. I almost took Philly, and then I remembered how fantastic of a season Al Horford had last year. And I think to combat Philadelphia, they've been at their worst. And I understand Ben Simmons is rising, and he is, in a couple years, I think he's going to overtake Joel Embiid for the true face of that franchise. Joel Embiid is just too entertaining right now in his prime to not be the face of the franchise. So I think Simmons will take that. It'll probably be even sooner than that. But when Joel Embiid does bad or he just doesn't play for the 76ers, that's usually when they're at their worst. And Al Horford was one of the best defensive centers we've seen in the past decade, a season ago, for the Celtics. A big part of the reason for their success and their trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm going to go with the Celtics in this game. I think it'll be close, though. I'm mainly excited to see how Kyrie and Gordon Hayward are implemented, facilitated. If they have limited minutes, or if they're going to be played as much as possible to kind of get that groove going. I
would imagine you'd want to get some of that momentum going. You got the home opener of this season. Celtics, they've been waiting to finally see their team at full power. And we saw what they were able to do crippled last year going into the playoff series against my team, the Cavaliers. And as much as we wanted to see the Cavs win that, we couldn't help but admire what Boston was doing.
100%.
And I love Boston. I love the franchise. I always have. But something's telling me I got to give that game to Philly.
I think it's going to be great either way. First game for us, by the way, our first disagreement. I like it. I like that we weren't on the same page. It's going to be interesting going forward. So I got the Celtics. Quentin's got the 76ers. I think throughout the season, the Celtics, I think you and I can both agree, Celtics are most likely going to have the better season if they're able to stay healthy. But tomorrow night, 100%. It's anybody's game. What's that?
100%. I do believe that the Celtics will have a better season. I think Philly is looking to get to the point to where they will be the most dominant team in the East. Just not yet. Not yet.
Again, they're close. And Toronto's another team up in the mix, which we'll get to in just a little bit. The second game of tomorrow night, part of that two-game doubleheader over on TNT. Two-game doubleheader. Of course, doubleheader is what 2 games means. On TNT, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, tip-off, 10:30 Eastern time. It's Golden State hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. The rivalry, which has been going on for quite some time now, really, before the 3-1 debacle both teams faced back in 2016. I think it's been going on even before that. And then, of course, Kevin Durant jumped ship from OKC to Golden State to join the Warriors, and it's just been a snowball effect from there. So, again, NBA got it right on this one. Although, like I told Quentin before we went live, I would have loved if this game was in OKC because I love the Thunder fans' reaction when KD comes to join or comes to visit. But
you gotta love pettiness. You've gotta love pettiness.
Oh, absolutely, especially in the NBA. It is just absolutely fantastic. But going to Oracle is smart. The Warriors are 12.5-point favorites. And again, day-to-day, Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams, both are going to play, both are going to start. They're just listed as day-to-day. Sean Livingston, day-to-day, as well as Steph Curry. Steph Curry is going to play, not going to get suspended. Sean Livingston, most likely going to play. So both teams will be at full strength, it sounds like. Both have also gone through a little bit of changes over the offseason. Of course, Golden State Warriors signed DeMarcus Cousins. They also got guys like Jonas Jerebko, Damian Lee, and along with Lee, they also signed Marcus Derrickson to a two-way contract. But they did lose out on JaVale McGee. He's over on the Lakers now, of course, with LeBron. Omri Caspi went to the Grizzlies. Zaza Pachulia went to the Pistons. So they lost some big guys down low there, obviously gaining DeMarcus Cousins. But I guess, going back to the injury report, the teams aren't at full strength because DeMarcus Cousins will be out. But he'll be out until January, February, it sounds like. Maybe he might come back sooner. But for the first portion of the season, he will be out. And also David West retired for the Thunder, but they still got KD, Durant, or they still got KD, Curry, Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr as their head coach. So as long as they have those guys, they're a very impressive team. For the Thunder, not much really changed for them other than the big signing of Nerlens Noel. they didn't lose any big names, and they were able to sign a good power forward. They lost Taj Gibson a couple of years ago in a trade. I guess they didn't really lose him, but they did. No, they lost him in free agency because they got him in a trade from Chicago. So filling that void there, or hopefully with Nerlens Noel, who had an up and down year in Dallas. But they're favored by 12.5 points. Over/unders 224. I have the Thunder losing this one, but not by. I'm taking the under on this. I think for the spread, I think that they'll only lose by about 9 or 10 points. I don't think they'll get blown out too bad. What do you think, Quinn? Who you got?
Well, before I tell you, I just want to say I just now, when you were telling me that they didn't lose a lot of names, I'm like, man, Melo really fell off, didn't he?
I totally forgot about
Fun
Carmelo
fact,
Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony was my favorite NBA player growing up. I loved Carmelo Anthony. It's hard to see where he's at, so I'm hoping for him to have a comeback season. But looking at this one, man, I would love to be bold because I love OKC.
Yeah. Boo. Might have lost a little bit of connection.
Love Russell West.
You're good, dude. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I had to stop for a second. Were you able to hear me?
No, sorry, go ahead. You just went mute for a second. That's okay, I'll just cut that out, but I
It's
heard,
okay. I got a phone call.
Oh, no sweat. No sweat. You said, I think it cut off when you said, I want to be bold here with the Thunder. Like right when you had started.
Oh, okay. I would love to be bold here with the Thunder because I love their roster and I like the franchise because, Seattle. But I'm going to give this one to Golden State. And I'm probably with you on the same. Not expecting a blowout here, expecting a nice competitive game because I expect OKC to bring it to Golden State with everything they have. The problem with Golden State is what they have, they only need to get you with 90% in order to dominate you. They're just that well-crafted of a team, that well-coached of a team. You got a whole team of leaders on there. It's hard to ever go against Golden State.
Absolutely. And they could be in neutral for the first 3 quarters and then just turn up on you in the fourth quarter, rain a bunch of threes on you, and just like that, your 20-point lead is gone and you lost the game and the Warriors are walking off winners again. You're exactly right. That's the type of team they are. They're able to win no matter the circumstances and with less effort than really anybody in the NBA can. It's very impressive.
They might say that it's effortless.
Steffortless.
Yeah, you can edit that out.
You know what else? I'm keeping that in because you know what else is Steffortless? The NBA's attempt to suspend Curry for the same reason they should have suspended, or the same reason they suspended CJ McCollum last year.
We're salty. We're salty.
A little bit. Okay. Not you though. Like you said, you got him on your fantasy squad, so that's good.
Yeah, which is Cleveland fan has Steph Curry on it because I want to be loyal, but not past the point of my own logic.
Right.
I've seen what Steph Curry can do.
You don't have to be.
And he's broken the NBA.
Yeah. He's made it people working hard or smarter, not harder, with threes greater than twos. He's proven that. Definitely changed. So yeah, we got the Warriors winning. Going into Wednesday, first game that's going to tip off with a slew of games, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, which will be a very obviously standard, typical weekday tip-off for the NBA going forward. We got the Milwaukee Bucks at the Charlotte Hornets. Obviously, the Bucks have Giannis Antetokounmpo, as well as guys like Chris Middleton. Just very, very, very impressive young and long roster. Former Rookie of the Year Malcolm Brogdon. They traded for Eric Bledsoe. Signed Matthew Dellavedova a couple years ago. Signed Pat Connaughton earlier this offseason. Just a lot of length, a lot of defense on that team, and of course they do have a brand new head coach with Mike Budenholzer coming over from the Atlanta Hawks. They have gotten rid of Jason Kidd, but they fired him a little bit ago, and now they're officially turning in a new chapter. And same thing for the Hornets. New head coach, James Borrego. He relieved Scott Skiles last year. after he was fired. And it's very interesting for the Hornets because they are a fun team usually to watch. Last year, they were part of the Dwight Howard little experiment that these teams seem to be going through. The Wizards are part of it now. And it worked out somewhat decent for them, but they are still far away from the playoffs. And they are, I think, in a perpetual rebuilding mode. And I have the Milwaukee Bucks winning this one. The over-under for the game is 217 with the Bucks favored by 2 on the road. You don't see that happen very often. Thon Maker and Trevin Duval, only guys on the injury report there day-to-day. Who you got in this one, Quentin?
It's going to be another one where we differ. I have mine down for the Charlotte Hornets. And this is another one of those feeling kind of moments, you know. Now, Milwaukee is I like the team a lot. Giannis Antetokounmpo is absolutely amazing. What he can do is ridiculous. However, Charlotte intrigues me. They really intrigue me. You got Tony Parker over there now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's so strange to even think about. Tony Parker is not with the Spurs this year. But I'm feeling Charlotte for this one. I'm feeling what they've got.
Little upset. Yeah, they got Tony Parker, they got Timofey Mozgov, and they have Bismack Biyombo. So they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But very interesting team. As long as Kemba Walker's on your team, you're going to be competing in games.
Absolutely. Kemba Walker, he feels like he's just underappreciated.
100%.
Just completely. You got to believe in Kemba in some way. I know that the Cavs were trying to get him, and, well, obviously they didn't.
No, not even close. Game right after that, you got the Brooklyn Nets at the Detroit Pistons. Most likely going to be bottom tier of the Eastern Conference, both of these guys. I could see either of them fighting for the final playoff spot, though, with the Nets. You have, again, a team that's been, right now they're currently young because they've been rebuilding so much, and their roster is just chock full of guys like Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, very, very young but athletic guy. They also signed or traded for Alan Crabb after trying to sign him away from the Blazers. They eventually got him. They like him a lot. Still have DeMarre Carroll and Jared Allen, another young, long center under the roster there over in Brooklyn. But outside of that, not a whole lot of playmakers there. They are still trying to find that point guard void. And I'm going to go to, I'm trying to remember, they did not, their draft pick didn't go through. Yeah. They didn't. Their first round draft picks are finally going to be going to them after that trade with Boston. They have been able to get their first round picks actually into players due to the trading for Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen back in the day. So they're officially not being screwed over anymore after this season, but they have lost out on so many good players that they could have had thanks to them trading away first-round picks. So I think this year the Nets are going to be somewhat decent. Same with the Pistons. I'm going to get to their roster real quick. Nobody really too impressive. Obviously, they have Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin, who they traded for a season ago. But they gave away a really good playmaker in Tobias Harris to the Clippers. So other than that, the Pistons just are average at, say, the best, and they may be falling apart at this point. They do have a brand new head coach as well, in Dwayne Casey, though. That is the thing that is making me pick the Nets, or that is making me pick the Pistons for this game. I have the Pistons winning. They are favored by 4.5 points at home. Over-under is 212. And nobody, again, on the injury reports all day today, so nothing too significant. What are you thinking here, Quinn?
Now, this one is interesting for me. It was the acquisition of Blake Griffin, for me, that really tilted this in the favor of the Pistons for me. That would be the big thing for me, because when you have Blake Griffin and you have Andre Drummond, Andre Drummond, the defense and the rebounding there, it makes it very tough for a roster to actually fight through.
Right.
And when you have a coach like Dwayne Casey, I'm sorry, the thought that Toronto fired this man.
I know. Coach of the year. Coach of the year.
Coach of the year. He did excellent things for that team, and they kicked him to the curb, and then they kicked my boy DeMar out too.
Oh man, yeah.
I feel some type of way about Toronto right now.
Toronto's gonna be a fun team to talk about this season. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. What's interesting is on my notes, I had this one for Brooklyn off of another gut feeling, but I'm going to have to give this one to Detroit, actually.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the fact that they're favored by 4.5 points speaks a little bit of volume. Obviously, Vegas is liking the Pistons in this one, as are we. After that, you got the Grizzlies at the Indiana Pacers, another 4 p.m. Pacific tip-off time. Not really too much to say about the injury report, but the Pacers have young guys like Domantas Sabonis. You got Victor Oladipo over there. They signed Tyreke Evans earlier this offseason. And for the Grizzlies, they got the 4th overall pick and turn it into Josh Jackson Jr., or JJJ as they like to call him. They're going to be pairing him up with Marc Gasol, obviously the very impressive and very seasoned veteran down there for the Grizzlies down below Marc Gasol. And that's going to be a fun matchup to check out. And the Pacers at home, 6.5 point favorites. Over-under is 208. I don't think either team had any major transactions other than I think the Tyreke Evans signing for the Pacers was very important because he was highly touted after what he did. And excuse me, just Jaren Jackson Jr., not Josh Jackson Jr., Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J. I got to see him live in Vegas League as well. Very impressive guy. For the Pacers, Lance Stevenson and Al Jefferson are not on the team anymore, so they did lose a couple of key veterans. Other than that, not really anything too crazy going on other than Doug McDermott coming over. But I'm going to take I really think that the Grizzlies are a little underrated this season. I think that they could be a sleeper. So I'm going to pick them winning this game. I like Mike Conley when he's healthy. Who you got in this one, Quentin?
You know what? This is one where actually I feel that you're going with your gut. I'm going with Indiana on this one. And it's funny because I always have liked the Grizzlies for the same reason. Mike Conley is criminally underrated. He's one of the better distributors at the point guard position, but he's been stuck on this team. Well, not stuck on it. He seems to enjoy being on the Grizzlies, and that speaks volumes. But the Grizzlies have just sat on this better half of average play for the past couple years. I mean, going into that 2014-15 season, they had a lot of heat going up. They were doing really well. And then this Golden State Warriors team just flew. And then they've just been on the better half of okay. But seeing how Indiana played against the Cavaliers in this playoff series gave me this kind of there's some kind of hope I have when it comes to Indiana. I like what they have on their roster, and so I got to give this one to Indiana.
Another disagreement. I like it. Yeah, I think both teams are going to be sleepers in their respective conferences. Indiana sleeper for possibly a first-round upset or even maybe deeper in the playoffs. I don't know. I'm going to need to see a little bit more playmaking out of them. Memphis could definitely be a sleeper to sneak its way into the really, really impressive Western Conference out there. Speaking of the Eastern Conference, we have a in-state matchup. Miami Heat going up against the Orlando Magic. This is Dwayne Wade's final season with the Miami Heat and in the NBA. So this will be a tour for him. One of the last times he'll be playing in Orlando, which he played in many of times throughout his career. And Miami is actually favored by 2.5 points on the road. They have not rookies, but young guys in Justice Winslow, Bam Adebayo, and they're still relying on Hassan Whiteside down there in the middle. They have guys also like Dion Waiters, who currently is day-to-day, but it looks like he's going to be playing in the game, which is a big up for them. Orlando, again, another team who now has Steve Clifford as their head coach, who was recently fired by the Charlotte Hornets. So a little coach rotation there going on in the Eastern Conference. Their big guy is Aaron Gordon, who they were able to re-up earlier this offseason. Other than that, they are going with Mo Bamba, who was a great pick there at them, 5th overall. Aaron Gordon, Mo Bamba, DJ Augustine, and they are also going with Jonathan Isaac, former Florida State Seminole, 6th overall pick in 2017. So really young, lengthy guys down there low for the Orlando Magic. Possible upset here for the Heat. But I'm still going to take Miami on the road winning this game. Partially because I do think Eric Spoelstra is going to be able to outcoach on the road to open up the season. And also I think Orlando is going to be able to get it together a little bit more down the road, but they're a young team and they need to figure some stuff out first. So I'm going Miami. What are you thinking, man?
I'm actually going Orlando on this one. I'm liking that we're getting a few disagreements on here because it's going to make it so much more fun when we tally these things up.
I love it.
And it's mostly for me, I just want to believe in what these rookies can do on this one. Sure. I really want to see. Jonathan Isaac no longer a rookie. However, seeing Isaac, Mo Bamba, this is going to be an interesting matchup, and that's probably one that I'm going to want to watch. Also, I mean, this Miami Orlando, you got that little in-state rivalry, so it's going to be the fans are going to be able to get into this one. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I love it. I love rivalry games. Eastern Conference, couple young teams. Speaking of the Eastern Conference, couple young teams, we've got the Hawks and the Knicks at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off. John Collins for the Hawks is going to be out, as is Kristaps Porzingis for a little bit for the Knicks. Other than that, no major injuries. The Knicks are 3.5-point favorites at home. The over-under is 213.5. The Atlanta Hawks drafted Trae Young, who we're all very excited to see. I guess they traded for him on draft night, but pretty much they drafted him, traded Luka Doncic to the Dallas Mavericks. So even though I think Luka Doncic is the better overall player, Trae Young's potential is very, very intriguing, especially in a league where three-point shooting is taking over. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they also are moving on from Dennis Schroeder. I don't think he's still on the roster. I'm looking up their roster right now.
He has been moved to OKC.
That's right. He went to the
backup
Thunder.
Point for Russ.
I was trying to think of the team he went to. Yeah, OKC. That of course. So they moved on from Dennis Schroeder, but they signed guys like Alex Len, Alex Pothris from the Indiana Pacers via the Phoenix Suns. Guys like Thomas Robinson are coming back, RJ Hunter. So we'll see if those guys end up actually making the team. But this is a young team. Who knows what will happen? Same with the Knicks. They are really high on second-year player Frank Ntilikina, as well as Kevin Knox, the small forward rookie out of Kentucky. They're also relying on Kristaps Porzingis whenever he's able to be healthy and play for that team. They signed Mario Hezonja. I know you're excited for this game. Who do you got?
This is definitely one of the games that I starred that I'm going to be watching. Kristaps isn't showing up on my injury report on the app, but we know.
Yeah.
For this one, this is tough because I want to see what Kevin Knox can do. I can see what Trae Young can do. And these teams, they've been in this kind of rebuilding period. And New York especially has, these teams were both so good a few years ago, and now they're just on this lower half of the East. Trae Young's scoring ability is insane, absolutely insane what he can do scoring wise. I'm going to give this one to New York.
Yeah,
I'm being bold again.
I'm going Knicks as well. I think the Knicks are going to be able to handle their own at home, mainly because of Ntilikina and Knox. I'm excited to see what those two young guys have to offer. And a lot of young rosters over there in the Eastern Conference, and the Western Conference really seems like, and I don't want to say it's like night and day. That's almost what it seems like because you have so many seasoned veterans over there in the Western Conference. All the All-Stars are going over there, so it's very interesting to look at these game by game and seeing the disparity between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. It's almost scary, but it's still going to be a fun season because of the I guess the night and day feeling it has to it, though, because you're going to be able to watch some young guys perform. You're going to be able to watch some veteran teams go at it and compete. Either way, you're going to watch a lot of teams competing, so it's going to be fun. Speaking of our teams, your Cavs are going up against the Toronto Raptors at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time as well. And not really any major injuries as well. Kevin Love seems like he's going to be good to go for you guys, who you extended earlier this offseason. The Raptors, however, with Kawhi Leonard instead of DeMar DeRozan, 11.5-point favorites. Both teams went through some crazy off seasons. Based off of them, who do you got opening night for these guys?
Well, if Toronto's coming in healthy, we get to see Kawhi playing alongside Kyle Lowry. We're gonna see our first glimpse at a team that I would consider to be the favorite to win the East right now, between them and Boston. Now, the Cavaliers right now, they don't want to admit it, but this is a rebuilding period. Now, I believe with our roster, we can make it to the playoffs, but I don't believe we can go too deep into the playoffs. And that's nothing to knock on our team. We do have a good team, but we do have a team that needs a little bit more help, a little bit more guidance. I want to see how Kevin Love steps up as a leader of our team. With this one, which should be no surprise, I'm going to have to take Toronto on it.
I like it. And Colin Sexton, another big name for you guys, the rookie out of Alabama, lottery pick as well. I got to see him in the Vegas Summer League too. Like I was telling you, good mid-range game, high motor, and just like any rookie point guard in this league, he's gonna experience some problems with turnovers, but that's to be expected. Other than that, I'm excited to see Sexton. I have the Raptors winning as well. It's going to be hard to defeat them, and the way Kawhi Leonard fits into this team and their scheme system with the new head coach, that's all going to be very, very interesting as well to see what they can do with such a talented player in Kawhi Leonard, and very different skill set from DeMar DeRozan as well. So it's going to be, but with Kyle Lowry, the veteran point guard there, almost anything is possible because that team can have won a lot of games with him controlling the ball. Very, very interesting ESPN matchup. Pelicans-Rockets. That's at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, the Rockets are going to be up there with the talks with best team and vying for the Western Conference championship. They're one of the best teams in the West. They have guys, obviously James Harden, who just won coming off an MVP season. Chris Paul, veteran point guard. Clint Capella, one of the best young centers in the game. You have all of these guys, but they have gone through quite a few changes this offseason. And I'll get to the Pelicans in a second, who have also lost a couple of names. But you go to the Houston Rockets. Trevor Ariza, Luka Mbah-a-Moute, both guys who were very, very important for them. Not only last year, speaking of Trevor Ariza, he was a very important piece for the Rockets for all these seasons of their success, and especially so last year. Luka Mbah-a-Moute as well on the defensive side of the ball. Luckily, they still have P.J. Tucker. Sounds like they might be getting rid of him for Jimmy Butler, if that ever happens. Sounds like Butler, who we'll get to in just a second, is staying with the Timberwolves. But when you are losing important defensive players like that, it's going to be hard to get back to the level that you were last year, especially when you relied on them so heavily. For the Pelicans, the biggest name they lost, of course, DeMarcus Cousins going to the Golden State Warriors. Rajon Rondo was pretty big as well for them due to how he played in the playoffs. He went to the Lakers. But with Cousins, luckily for them, he was out for a big portion of last year, so they were able to adjust to life without DC. But they overhauled their roster nonetheless. Elfrid Payton, Julius Randle, Trayvon Blewett, a rookie coming over for them. They also have guys like Troy Williams, Jahlil Okafor, hoping to make a roster spot for them. But with Anthony Davis on that squad, I'm taking the Rockets, even though I do think Anthony Davis will put up a 40-point triple-double. The Pelicans are going to have a good season with Anthony Davis there, but the Rockets are 7.5-point favorites at home in Houston. 228.5 is the over-under. What do you think for this game? I think both of these teams are going to be in the playoffs in the West when it's all said and done. But also opposite ends of the spectrum, right? You have the Rockets, a lot of veterans, MVP year, whereas the Pelicans are younger and haven't experienced nearly as much success as the Rockets have. What are you thinking for this game?
For this one, I also have to go with Houston.
Okay.
I think that the Pelicans roster is looking promising for the future as they push forward. I think they'll have a great season, too, for what they do. But I don't know that I can just give Davis and the gang this one. Because it's really hard to go against Houston. Mm-hmm. It's just hard to go against Houston. So I'm going to have to give this one to to Houston.
It's because they are, like we were talking about the Warriors, they can beat you with the three ball. They can almost, it seems like at times, James Harden, obviously we know what he does on the defensive side of the ball. That's questionable. But it almost seems like he just flows so great. He looks so His finesse on the offensive side of the ball is just so elegant, where it seems like he's not putting in effort a lot of the time, and he's still able to score in high volume for the Rockets. Chris Paul, too, just because he's so masterful. So with the Warriors, you almost have the same problem with the Rockets, and also speaks for the three-point shooting they're able to have with Eric Gordon coming off the bench. Important piece for them.
Watching those guys play, just watching how James Harden and Chris Paul, how they contain themselves, the emotions they show when they play, like there's something about it where they are always in control. And they're in control in a game that it's not very easy to control, because you know how basketball is. Basketball isn't, it is not structured. It is all jazz. Players that really embody that are like Kyrie Irving. Irving, when Kyrie's handling the ball, you don't know where he's going. The defender doesn't know where he's going, and he doesn't know where he's going. He's sight reading that ball, but they have this control about them that makes them hard to go up against.
Basketball
looks effortless.
It's such an up and down game, where if you're able to find opportunities where you at least have the chance to control aspects of the game, and you're able to capitalize on that, sets you apart from the other guys in this league. So that's a really good point. Kyrie's a great example of that too. Very methodical with the ball. A couple of other very interesting Western Conference teams. Minnesota Timberwolves, we know the debacle with Jimmy Butler. He's still on the team though. And the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio. Right? Yeah. What is he? You freaking need me, man. Spurs are going to be hosting in San Antonio the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on the 17th. The Spurs are actually 2.5-point favorites over a very impressive and young Minnesota Timberwolves team that lost out on nobody too big other than really Jamal Crawford, who they only had for a season. They were able to draft Keita Bates-Diop out of Ohio State, who is a Swiss Army utility knife type guy. They still have Taj Gibson. They are still kind of the Minnesota Timber Bulls. Tom Thibodeau is still their head coach. They still have Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, and Karl Anthony Towns as their most notable guys. And then they were also able to add Luol Deng, another former Bull there. Anthony Tolliver as well. So interesting team with the whole Jimmy Butler wants to be traded, but he's still on the team because the team doesn't really want to trade him. It's very weird. And then for the Spurs, unfortunately for them, they just cannot find the point guard that they need. DeJounte Murray seemed like it, but he's going to be out for the year with a torn ACL. Tony Parker, the longtime veteran, like we said, and went to the Charlotte Hornets. Manu Ginobili has officially been exempted from the roster as of today with his retirement. And they were able to sign really Marco Bellinelli, and they were able to retain Rudy Gay as well. But other than that, this team lost more than they gained. But who do you got for this game, Quentin? What are you thinking? The Spurs are still favored at home. Is that a kind of a fluke? Do you still see them being... obviously, they still have Greg Popovich, best head coach in the NBA. Who you got for this one?
Well, you never want to count out Popovich.
You can't.
But that goes in terms of a whole season.
Right.
You don't want to count him out.
Right.
But for this game, it's hard to ignore what Minnesota has. Now, the biggest problem is if Minnesota is able to lose this game, and this is not to disrespect the Spurs have a great roster, but what they are missing is they are missing that good distribution from the point guard position, and Minnesota is probably just having some issues in the locker room with this whole Jimmy Butler sweepstakes, and I'd love to see where he goes. Cleveland, but
Man.
I'm going to give this one to Minnesota.
I'm
going to give this one.
I'd love to see Jimmy Butler in Cleveland. I'm with you on that one.
I think Jimmy Butler alongside Kevin Love. I mean, I know. Think about it. Just think about it.
I really like that combination. I got the Timberwolves winning as well on the road. Karl Anthony Towns, if he improves on his defense, he could be in the conversation of the best center in the league now, with the iffiness of DeMarcus Cousins. But offensively, he's an absolute monster. I'm looking forward to him playing lights out this season. Another Western Conference matchup, we have the Utah Jazz traveling to Sacramento to take on the Kings. That's at 7 p.m. Pacific time. The Jazz, who a lot of people are saying are going to be competing for that third, maybe even the second seed there in the Western Conference. A lot of people are high on them, including myself. I think that they could definitely be a sleeper. 8-point favorites on the road going into Sacramento. Sacramento, a very young team. For Utah, though, they obviously have Donovan Mitchell, I guess runner-up Rookie of the Year a season ago to Ben Simmons, who obviously is on the Philadelphia 76ers. But they also have Derek Favors and Rudy Gay, very impressive defensive guys down low for them. Rudy Gay always at the top for Defensive Player of the Year honors. You got guys like Jay Crowder and Ricky Rubio who have upped their game since coming to Utah, helped them out. And a lot of credit to Quinn Snyder as well for being a fantastic head coach there for Utah. And Sacramento, they're just young. Dave Yeager is still doing a fairly decent job with the cards that he's been dealt, but the Kings are just never able to get over the mediocre hump. De'Aaron Fox is who they're still running with there at point guard. Willie Cauley-Stein is looking to make a step up this season. But just a very sporadic roster, very questionable signings over the years, including Ben McLemore, who they now have back, Zach Randolph, Iman Shumpert, who they got in a trade. Just very, very interesting team. I have the Jazz winning by a lot, but I think for the season to watch, it may be a train wreck. They may surprise us. The Kings are very interesting despite what their roster is so sporadic. Who you got in that game on Wednesday?
You already know who I got. I got Utah on that one. You already know. There's nothing more to say.
Man. The Kings, I don't know. Just some of the moves they made are just, it's like, are you trying to win basketball games, or are you just? I understand you have to fill seats too, but that can be the main drive for all of your signings. Like, come on.
There's just something about how Sacramento has handled itself. If you ask me, they should just move up to Seattle
Please.
And figure things out there.
Let's do it. I love it. That would be fantastic. Kevin Durant wants that. We know that. We saw him with the Sean Kemp jersey.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to see another team back in Seattle, and I already know what sponsorship they're going to have on the other side of their jersey. They're going to have that Starbucks logo right there. Nike, Starbucks. Done.
Okay. maybe Amazon smiley face there on the shorts, maybe somewhere on the shorts.
Oh, there you go.
I like it. Seattle industrial work right there. And then again, another Western Conference matchup: Dallas Mavericks at the Phoenix Suns. That's the second part of that doubleheader on ESPN. That's at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. The Suns have number 1 overall pick DeAndre Ayton on their squad now. They also have, even though he's going to be injured, he's going to be exciting to see him throughout the year. It sounds like Devin Booker will be out for tomorrow night. Yes. So Devin Booker has been ruled out for tomorrow night, but it sounds like he'll be back. They do have DeAndre Ayton. They have Dragon Bender, as well as new acquisitions, Ryan Anderson and Trevor Ariza, both coming over from the Houston Rockets. We talked about that earlier. And I don't believe they got anybody else. But today they did sign Jamal Crawford, who's another very interesting veteran signing for them, along with Trevor Ariza. That's going to be fun to watch. And other than that, they didn't really lose any long-time roster guys other than Tyler Ulis, who they waived, and Alex Len, who went to the Atlanta Hawks. For the Mavericks, they traded Trae Young for Luka Doncic. They also still have Dirk Nowitzki, so that's a very interesting foreign combination there, even though Dirk Nowitzki has been limited in minutes over the years. Sounds like this could be his last season for the Mavericks as well, so that's something to look out for. And they lost Seth Curry, Yogi Ferrell, a couple of, and as well as Doug McDermott. That's 3 guards that they kind of relied on heavily last year. So just absolutely overhauling. They brought back Devin Harris to try to fill in that void. Signed DeAndre Jordan as center there. But and the Suns are favored by 1 point. I still think it's an upset for the Suns to win. So I'm taking the upset. I think Phoenix is going to win at home, even though I'm very impressed by some of the moves the Mavericks have made, because I think Jordan and Doncic, that's going to be a fun combo. Who do you got for this one?
You've got Phoenix for this one, huh?
I do have Phoenix. Yeah.
I have Dallas. I am expecting one amazing debut in the for Luka Doncic. I'm really expecting him to just pour it on. I'm telling you, I'm expecting him to just pour it on. It's a shame we don't get to see him go up against Devin Booker, one of the strongest offensive stars in the league right now.
Right.
But I got Dallas for this one. Not sure by how much, but I got Dallas.
Hopefully down the line we'll be able to see that matchup for sure out there in the West young guys. It's going to be Doncic v. Booker. I think both of those guys are going to be faces of their franchise in no time. So, and Booker might be the face of his right now, but DeAndre Ayton is going to be intriguing too. So yeah, that's going to be a fun game for sure. And to round out Wednesday, a very busy Wednesday, Denver Nuggets at the Los Angeles Clippers. Nuggets, of course, I think their biggest move this offseason was signing Isaiah Thomas. They were also able to re-up both Will Barton and Nikola Jokic. And they didn't really lose out on anybody significant other than Devin Harris and Isaiah Whitehead. So with Paul Millsap coming back healthy for the team, they got Jokic. Will Barton looks to be stepping up to a bigger role. And they moved on from Emmanuel Mudiay and his constant turnovers. But I still think that there's a bit of a void there at point guard. But the Nuggets are going to be fighting for, I think, almost a top 5 I guess, playoff spot there, top 5 place there in the Western Conference when it's all said and done. I am very high on the Nuggets for this year. DeAndre Jordan and CJ Williams were big losses for the Clippers, and really they weren't able to fill that void with anybody besides Luka Mbamute to help out their defense. And they're still relying on Danilo Gallinari, who didn't do much for them. Seems like Pat Beverly is going to be out for a while, but they have a couple of nice playmakers, and Avery Bradley on the defensive side of the ball, and Tobias Harris on the offensive side of the ball, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think I said his name right. Impressive guard, 6'6" out of Kentucky. I'm excited to see what he has. But I have the Denver Nuggets winning this game. They are there's no line for this game, but the over/under is 227. I think the Nuggets will be favored when it opens up. But yeah, I got the Nuggets winning this game. What are you thinking?
I feel like we've just returned to the natural order of things, where the Clippers just are down there. Yeah. Now, this not to just directly disrespect the Clippers, but just seeing what the Clippers have, imagining what they are going to bring to the table without all of those star pieces that they had, because the Clippers had this amazing core and then they just gutted it. The Clippers are they've just done exactly what Atlanta did a few seasons ago. And I'm seeing as Denver is fighting. Denver wants to contend, and it's hard to contend in the West, but Denver, they're trying, Jennifer. They're trying. So I'm going to give this one to Denver as well.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I think Denver, and yeah, you're right with the Clippers. They had DeAndre Jordan, JJ Redick, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, all 4 of them gone within the span of 2.5 seasons. Absolutely wild.
You're rebuilding when you still had something.
Right.
But what they had, it's just bad timing to have what you have, because they were a contending team. But the West has been packed with so many title-worthy teams. It's hard to get out there. It really is. Yeah. So we'll see. And the Clippers still have Doc Rivers there at head coach as well. So we'll see what the plan is moving ahead for them. And then the big game, we'll get to see LeBron in a Lakers jersey for the first time Thursday on TNT, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's on Thursday the 18th. It'll be in Portland as the Lakers take on my Blazers. You better have tickets to that game.
You know what? I do not, because the cheapest tickets were about $200 by the time I left. That's $200 per person, and I'm just fine watching it in the comfort of my own home. And I know that, and I know the Lakers will be back in town soon. But yeah, no, that would have been an absolutely bananas game to go to. I'm still excited to watch it on TV. And I'm not going to be homer. I'm not going to take the Blazers on this one, even though the streak for us, 15 games in a row beating the Lakers. In reality, I'm hoping that's going to continue. But with a fired up LeBron, improving that team, and again, the Lakers got LeBron James, they got JaVale McGee, they got Lance Stevenson, they got Rajon Rondo. So these are veterans who are going to be able to help Luke Walton coach the team, help guys like Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram. And I have the Lakers winning this game. I think it'll be a close one. I think it'll be a really, really good matchup all around. Blazers, not too much has changed over the offseason for them. They stuck with the same group. They've lost Ed Davis and Shabazz Napier, which I think is going to hurt their bench production a little bit. But they were able to add Seth Curry, Nick Stauskas, who I don't know about Stauskas, but Anthony Simmons via the draft, and more minutes for guys like Zach Collins and Wayne Baldwin, who impressed me in the summer league. But I got the Lakers in this one. I'm not going to be a homer on this, but I do think the Blazers will win the season series against the Lakers. Who you got in this game?
Now, this one, it's interesting because I've wrestled back and forth with this one a little bit because I love just the idea of what this Lakers team is bringing to the table with a guy, Rajon Rondo, LeBron James, Lonzo Ball, Kuzma. I mean, this is a team of potential leaders, and all these guys, they're excellent playmakers. You're going to see a different kind of basketball out of this team, provided you can get these people to all, come together. Now, this is something we know LeBron is very good at doing, no matter what kind of level of egos you're running with here. But come on, Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee. This is going to be we're not allowed to associate those two anymore.
Oh, man.
Apparently.
Yeah, dang it! I might get sued.
I know. I mean, that's insane. You know what? I had the Lakers for this one, but just because this is the first time I am deliberately taking one because you took the other, because I can really flip a coin on this one. I am taking Portland for this. That is a potent offense. That is one of the scariest offenses in the league, and we just don't talk about it because it isn't Golden State. But that offense is absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give this one to Portland. And also see that LeBron's teams, they tend to start off slow. When LeBron came back to Cleveland, he was outscored and out-assisted by Carmelo Anthony on the first game.
Yep. Anything can happen, man.
Anything can happen. So I'm giving this one to Portland.
Okay. I hope you're right, and again, I think it'll be very competitive. But my gut is telling me the Lakers. My gut's telling me not to pick the Blazers. So I'm following your lead. I'm going with my gut, but I hope that you're right. So that is the second half of the doubleheader on TNT that night. The first game is going to be the Chicago Bulls at the Philadelphia 76ers. First time we're talking about the Bulls for this season. Their biggest acquisition, of course, was Jabari Parker, and they didn't really lose anybody of note. So they're riding with Parker, Lauri Markkanen, who I think is out. No, he is healthy for the game. He was banged up a little bit. So they got Lauri Markkanen, Jabari Parker. They also have young guys like Cameron Payne and Bobby Portis, Denzel Valentine, Chris Dunn, who they got in a trade in that Jimmy Butler trade. That's also paying dividends. And Zach LaVine, who I believe they signed to a contract extension earlier this offseason. And yes, they did. Yeah, they extended him as well as Antonio Blakely and Ryan Arcidiacono, the former Villanova point guard. So, and we talked about the 76ers, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz. There's no line on this one, but I expect the 76ers to open up as favorites, and I think that they will win the game, but I think it'll be closer than people think because this Bulls team is very young and impressive. Who you got on this one, Quentin?
This one, I have to agree with you. I'm going with Philadelphia. Okay. However, I am going to be keeping an eye on the Bulls because this team, it's got something to it. And I can't count that the Bulls franchise itself will be content to not return to a time of dominance.
Right.
So, looking at what they have, I mean, Lauri Markkanen, that's already just one player that I think we should be keeping an eye on. He seems to have a lot of that Kristaps Porzingis in him. Let's just see if he can stay healthier than Kristaps Porzingis can.
Right.
We'll see.
Which hopefully he can. I do have him on my fantasy team for this season. And yeah, he's very impressive coming out of Arizona. He was highly coveted utility power forward big man, and he showed dividends to that last year. I was impressed. I was high on him for draft boards, and I was even impressed with how he performed first year in the NBA last season. So, yeah, expecting a lot out of him. And then I guess this is tipping off. This doesn't cap off the night, but to cap off our Thursday slate of games, we have the Miami Heat at the Washington Wizards. We talked about the Heat Got guys like Hassan Whiteside, Goran Dragic, Dion Waiters, Justice Winslow, Josh Richardson, Eric Spoelstra. Of course, this is Dwayne Wade's last year. And the Washington Wizards, John Wall, Brad Beal, they really like that backcourt duo. They also have Otto Porter Jr. and Kelly Oubre Jr., who are fitting into their roles nicely out there in Washington. But they're taking a chance on two guys who have been passed around the league quite a bit over the past few years. Jeff Green and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, of course, center, former Defensive Player of the Year, former close to being a MVP, Finals MVP as well for the Orlando Magic. Ever since his days in Houston, he just hasn't been the same center. Jeff Green, ever since his heart issue when he was in Boston, he also hasn't been the same player, but he did help the Cleveland Cavaliers make it to the finals last year. So this is actually one of the tighter games because I think Washington has a nice roster. If John Wall is able to play like gang signs John Wall night in and night out. It really depends though on his performance. I think he'll be okay when things tip off for them this season. So I'm taking the Wizards winning this game, especially since it is, the Heat will be coming off a shorter rest than the Wizards, obviously. But yeah, I got Washington winning at home. Who you got for this one?
Same with you. I got Washington. I'm looking forward to this John Wall, Dwight Howard combo. I'm high on the John Wall, Dwight Howard combo because I like Dwight Howard. I don't care what anybody says. I like Dwight Howard.
I like him too.
And
I do too.
I've seen, the thing that is a problem is a lot of people will see Dwight Howard and they'll believe that he fell off. It's just that he had this dominance when playing for Orlando that we didn't see when he started playing for other teams, but he did still play, and he played well. He just didn't play because Dwight Howard looked like he was going to be this insane, unstoppable monster.
Right.
And now he's just Dwight Howard. And I think that just comes with playing for the Orlando Magic.
Sure,
if you play for the Magic, franchise players don't often, they don't get to stick around Orlando. I mean, if you go back, it's rough.
Shaq, Jameer Nelson. Yeah, there's a long list. Penny
Hardaway.
Yeah.
Tracy McGrady.
Oh, T-Mac, yeah, of course. Steve Francis.
Victor Oladipo.
Big. That's a big one too. They essentially got nothing for Serge Ibaka.
It's like they don't want to win.
Right. No, yeah.
I give Mo Bamba 3 years in Orlando before they trade him for a pack of gum. Because
he's got a whole song and he's gonna be disrespected.
And it slaps.
It's a good song too. Damn it.
But I don't know what it is. There's something about Orlando that makes me so mad, and it's mostly the Tracy McGrady thing.
Absolutely wild. Yeah, no, yeah. There's, there could be an entire episode centered around the mishaps of the Orlando Magic over there, just in our lifetime too. Just since we were born,
yeah.
Absolutely wild.
They get a player, franchise quality player. Let's trade him.
Speaking of the Magic, they open things up at home against the Hornets on Friday. We talked about both teams already, so who you got for this one?
Hold on. Friday?
Yeah, Hornets at Magic.
Oh, man, I was so on top of things.
Oh, you're good. Because
okay, yeah. I actually, despite how much crap I just talked about the Orlando Magic, I do have them for this one.
I think they can sneak a win on this one too, absolutely. Especially with Evan Fournier. The guard defense for the Hornets is not good. So I think Evan Fournier will be able to go off on them. Knicks at Nets, a little New York matchup. This is kind of tough. I picked the Knicks in my first one. I think the Nets are going to be able to handle business at home. I think they're a better shooting team overall, and I think Jared Allen will be healthy by that time, hopefully for the Nets. Who you got for that one, for that little New York rivalry?
They played each other just like that? Oh, wait, okay, I see. I thought they played each other a second time in a row. Man, okay. So I have mine in a weird order because I had favorited Cleveland on the app, so it showed me one first.
Right. It does that for the Blazers for me too. It's weird.
Yeah. Now for this one, I've got the Knicks against Brooklyn.
Okay.
I've got the Knicks against Brooklyn.
Okay. And the most important matchup, I think, for the East early on in the season is right after that. Celtics at Raptors. We get to see Kawhi, Kyrie, DeMar, not DeMar. We do see we don't see DeMar DeRozan. I was thinking of I can't be messing up like that. But I'm sure I'm not the only one.
The Raptors without DeMar DeRozan,
that's exactly what just came to my mind.
Yeah, he's the star of that,
or was.
Well, he was the star of that team.
Yeah. But Celtics at Raptors, I think this is going to be a very, very, very. This might be the highest watched regular season game in a long time. Celtics fans are passionate. Raptors fans are passionate. First time we get to see each other match up. This could be an Eastern Conference Finals preview. I am going to go with the Celtics winning on the road in this one, even though I would love to see the Raptors handle business. I'm going with the Celtics. Who you got?
I got the Celtics. And it was one that I could flip a coin on. I mean, just think about these teams, because this, like you said, this is definitely a preview of what you could be looking at for the Eastern Conference Finals. There aren't many teams in the East that you could compete at this level, because these teams aren't just good for the East. These teams could compete in the West if they were in the West.
Yes. I think them and Philly are the only three teams you could confidently take from the East and say, these guys will fit in with the West and they'll be able to compete for a playoff spot. Other than that, it's iffy.
Yes, very iffy. Very iffy on that.
At best. Iffy at best, too. Hawks, Grizzlies, inter-conference matchup. I got obviously Hawks are still rebuilding. So I'm going to take the Grizzlies at home. Who you got in that one?
I've got Atlanta for this one.
Okay.
I've got Atlanta. Being bold, but I got Atlanta.
Upset. I like it. I like John Collins could be healthy by then, too. That'll be big. Cavs at Timberwolves. Your team going up against the Butlers. Who's winning that one?
Yes. Yeah, I would like to see. Maybe it'll be a good time for us to pull Jimmy Butler aside before the game and
there you go.
Get him. Show him the glories of Cleveland. Get him a corned beef sandwich and hope for the best.
I love it.
I'm going to be loyal. I'm going Cleveland.
Okay.
I'm going Cleveland on this
and early NBA season action, anything can happen. I'm going to take the Timberwolves in this one, but I am excited to see Kevin Love going up against Cat, because I think Love could do some major damage against a weaker defender like Karl Anthony Towns. Kings Pelicans.
And just a little bit of storyline in there too. You got, Kevin Love got to hold it down in Minnesota for a while.
He was their franchise guy. Speaking of trading away franchise players, luckily they still have Andrew Wiggins, but giving away Kevin Love like that to team him up with LeBron James, in hindsight, wasn't that great of an idea for the Timberwolves. But
no.
At least they have Andrew Wiggins still. At least they didn't totally lose out. But he's the reason that they probably won't be having Jimmy Butler for much longer.
Yeah, that's for sure. I would love to know really what's going on in there.
Me too.
Jimmy Butler seems like he might be a little hard to work with, though.
A little bit, right? But not to that. Something had to have happened that nobody's talking about between Butler and maybe the front office, or maybe somebody on that team. Something had to have happened. I definitely do think the build-up throughout last season had to do with it, leading to. But I think something had to happen to set Jimmy over the edge like this. But I'm not sure. I could be wrong.
We'll find out eventually.
We'll definitely find out eventually. I think hopefully there's a tell-all book coming out soon. Kings at Pelicans. I'm taking the Pelicans this one. I don't think the Kings will be having a lot of wins during the season. I'm going with the Pelicans. Anthony Davis will put up monster numbers yet again. Who you got in that one?
There's not much to say about that one. I'm going to have to go with New Orleans on this.
Pelicans. Pacers at Bucks, Eastern Conference matchup. This one's really interesting, actually. I like this one. Who you got in this matchup?
You know what? I'm feeling the Pacers for this one.
Okay.
I'm feeling the Pacers, but I like both of these teams.
Me too.
Because Milwaukee also has an excellent roster. Milwaukee will be a playoff team this year. I'm calling for Milwaukee to be a playoff team this year, and Indiana as well.
Yeah.
I do believe that Milwaukee will have a better all-around season, but I do believe this game will go to Indiana.
Okay, I think Milwaukee will be able to use its length to contain Victor Oladipo, so I'm going to take Milwaukee in this one, but it'll be a very, very close and entertaining game. Warriors at Jazz, this could be a preview of the Western Conference Finals, depending on, obviously, the success of the Jazz. You know how good the Warriors are. This is going to be an ESPN game as well. I'm going to take the Jazz with an upset. I think this is going to be their early season statement game against the Warriors. And we've seen the Warriors struggle early on in the seasons as well last year. Off to a little bit of a slow start could be the case this year. I'm going Utah. Who you got?
I like that. I like that a lot, and I want to agree with you on it. But I just find it unhealthy for me to ever vote against Golden State. I'm going to have to give this one for Golden State. Yeah, there's just something about it.
I'm looking forward to all of these guys match up over the season, but this first one's going to be really special, especially down there in Utah on ESPN in prime time. Thunder at Clippers in Los Angeles. Thunder going on the road. I'm going to take them to win. I really like Russell Westbrook, and the Clippers are still trying to find their identity. Are you on the same page as me?
Well, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. I like it. Spurs at Trailblazers. I'll start with the earlier games. That was just the first one. To start out Saturday on NBA TV, you got Raptors at Wizards. Kawhi Leonard going up against John Wall and Brad Beal and Dwight Howard there. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Kyle Lowry, another veteran, going up against John Wall. So that's a good point guard matchup. Yes. This was definitely a coin toss for me because Wizards at home could definitely upset the Raptors early on. I'm picking Toronto in this one. Who you got?
For this one, it's another kind of, just like you said, it's kind of a coin toss for this one. And because it's just so much of a coin toss, I'm going to, again, deliberately vote against you and take Washington on this one.
I like it.
And this one is, I could go either way. I actually had originally marked for Toronto, but it's so tough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Washington.
Nets at Pacers.
Wow, I just realized how much I voted for the Pacers. I'm going to give it to the Pacers.
Okay. I'll say the Pacers as well, but I think this is going to be an interesting game to watch for the Nets because of the shooting talent that they have with Alan Crabb coming off the bench there for them, and Shabazz Napier as well. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Celtics at Knicks. Hopefully Porzingis, we'll see. I really want to see Porzingis play against this young Boston Celtics team. I think Jason Tatum has a big game, and the Celtics come away with the victory. What do you think?
Yeah, I've got to give you this one. I'm definitely going to go with Boston on this one. When we do get to see Kristaps Porzingis come back, I will probably be voting a little bit more on the side of the Knicks than I can without him. But I like it. He's such a major piece of their offense.
Yeah.
So,
the unicorn. Right after that, you got 3 Eastern Conference matchups. Magic at Sixers, Hornets at Heat, Pistons at Bulls. I'm going Sixers win at home. I'm taking all the home teams in this one. I'm going Sixers, Heat, Bulls, all winning at home. What do you think? Who do you think wins those 3 matchups?
I've got Philly, Charlotte, and Detroit.
Okay. Detroit going up against this young Bulls defense Young's Bull team could definitely catch them off guard. So I think that's going to be my closest game there. It's a toss-up between the Pistons and the Bulls for me. Timberwolves at Magic, that's a very interesting matchup as well. Butler and going up against Luka Doncic. You got DeAndre Jordan going up against Karl Anthony Towns. I'm going to take the Mavericks as an upset at home against them. Who you got?
I've got Minnesota for this one. And I'm hoping that they will have put the pieces together and figured some things out. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to win this Jimmy Butler sweepstakes within this month. I sure would love to, just so I can stop worrying and stop typing his name into my phone just to see if anybody did anything. But until then, I'm going to give this one to Minnesota.
I like it. And final 2 games, Suns at Nuggets. Who you got?
For this one, I'm going to give this one to the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Definitely going to give this one to the Nuggets.
I'll go Nuggets too. I'm high on them. And Rockets-Lakers, definitely playoff matchup possibility there. Even, this is kind of going out on a limb because this is saying the Warriors won't make it there. This definitely could be a Western Conference Finals preview as well if both of these teams live up to and surpass their expectations. Lakers at home, I picked them to beat my Blazers, so I'm going to pick them to lose at home against the Rockets. I think James Harden could have a very, very big night. Who you got in that matchup? That's a big Western Conference matchup right there.
That is absolutely. I'm going to go with the Lakers on this one. I'd like to see what we can get out of it, but I would definitely. I gotta go Lakers. I gotta go Lakers.
All right, everybody. That concludes week number 1 for Who You Got here at the Orange Globe. Thank you so much for listening to this. Quentin, go ahead and plug away where people can find your Twitter and anywhere else on social media where they can reach out to you.
You can find me on Twitter at SpiroSwagnew. But before I go on, I think we missed a game. Does San Antonio play Portland?
Is that? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the game that I skipped because it was at the top. Good call. Yeah. San Antonio at Portland, so that's going to be DeMar DeRozan, C.J. McCollum. That's what I was really excited to talk about. DeRozan going up against C.J. McCollum, shooting guard matchup there for both teams. And then you got Lillard against whichever point guard the Spurs are going to throw out there. I'm picking my Blazers. I think that they'll have a good game. Another Western Conference rivalry there. Who are you picking in that one? That's a good game.
And
too.
I'm right with you on the Blazers. I just feel like that Blazers backcourt can overwhelm anybody. And when you don't have somebody who's going to lock down Damian Lillard, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, absolutely.
He's got the offensive skeleton key.
Spurs are just so up in the air right now. It's pretty crazy, especially at the point guard position. But DeMar DeRozan, it's going to be exciting to watch him throughout the season. And all of these teams are going to be exciting. So that's going to be week 1. We'll be back next week after week 1 to kind of summarize what we saw and give our predictions for week 2. And hopefully we can keep doing this every single week because it's a lot of fun to break down all these teams and talk about who we like and who we want to win. So, for Quentin, I'm Dayton. You guys can follow us. You can follow myself on Twitter at Dayton_Brown_. You can follow the podcast account at The Orange Globe on Twitter. You can also find us on Instagram at The Orange Globe. And, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up as well. But, again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys soon.